Mike Carter, Operations, 143 Fountain Street, 812, New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you.
So we are here. We don't have a formal presentation for you on this segment. We did submit some of the documents that you were interested in seeing. I do have Mr. Carter with me in case there are questions.
Are there any questions from committee members?
A couple.
Yeah.
So the contract with ABM that we have now, we are out of contract, is that correct? There was an extension through June of 2024, and we're now out of contract. It looked like there was a 1-year extension, but we're currently out.
The contract is a multi-year contract, started in 22-23. In June of this year, late June, July, it went to the Board of Education for approval of a 1-year extension, which expires next June 30, 2025.
I think what we got was just the one that expired June 2024, so that's why I asked.
Okay.
Yeah. Are there any other questions from committee members?
I have some questions.
Alder Miller?
There are some things that sort of bubbled up since the last presentation, questions that came up. Can you tell us, are there just some like safety issues? Maybe this belongs more in safety, but are there any schools that currently have, I saw some references to this in some of the work orders, schools that have playgrounds that don't have gates, operational gates? That don't close or don't.
I'd just like to recognize Alder Furlow. Welcome.
So let me start by saying that yes, there are some playgrounds right now that are in need of repair. Those are part of the work in progress that we have in securing different agreements to be able to do so. So a lot of those are being funded with ESSER dollars. There was a little delay on that, but I'll let then Mr. Carter give you some details.
Yeah, we had some delays due to the procurement of playground equipment. You think it's a simple thing to order, 30, 60 days. Sometimes it takes 3 to 6 months for delivery. Also, there were some sites that the playground was actually put in front of the school, but we found out the principal wanted the back of the school. And then there was no money to mitigate the area that it was going. So we are working through that. Also, this is a high priority for our citywide stewardship building committee. We meet every month about that. And we're hoping to get more money so we can expedite that playground as well as others I've been to, King Robinson, Troop, et cetera, that we can get up to speed for our students.
Okay. That's good information. What I should have asked more clearly is around the safety of the play areas. Are there any schools that don't have gates that close? So the kids go out for recess, they're in some area that generally has a gate that locks so kids can't just run off. Are there any schools that don't have gates like that right now?
I have to check my report. Mr. Jamarlene has the specifics around each of the individual schools, and he can either come and answer, or we can give that answer to you, but there are some gates that we have repaired and they've been broken again. So we do keep a damage report.
Okay, that would be good just to know. I saw a couple references to it, but I wasn't sure what the status was. And it seems to me that as a parent, I wouldn't want to send my kid to school knowing that they're at recess, and if the teacher isn't watching at that moment, they could. But it sounds like there are some in the district that have that situation now. Another question I have is about heat. Are there any schools now that are routinely not able to maintain the 65-degree temperature that I understand is required under state law?
So I'm going to start by saying that all along, right, we've been sharing that we have significant HVAC issues throughout the entire district. That is why last year we went after grants that were available. We applied for 4. We were very fortunate that we got 2 out of the 4. For example, for Edgewood and also for Lincoln Bassett, to give you an example, the way that those grants work, they're given to you for a period of time. You're supposed to upfront the money, and then once you do, you're able to get a 77% reimbursement. So we are awaiting right now the proposal, right, from the mayor that went to U.S. Alders for that 5.5 capital dollars. So one of the things that we are prioritizing to be able to do with those funds are things related to HVAC, because we know right now it's not ideal the situations that we have. The reason why I referenced those particular situations that I think are going to be very beneficial would be that if we immediately tap into those dollars that we hope to get, we can at least, for example, get those 2 HVAC systems done, in knowing that then we'll be able to get that 77% reimbursement that then we can use to do more work. So that's part of the process that we're going through right now.
Okay, so would that be yes or no, that we have schools that are below, like routinely below 65 degrees where?
Well, just about every other day the school is either too hot or too cold. So sometimes it could be a switch that went down. We do have a lot of contracts that, thanks to the Board of Education and the Board of Alders, that have come through. And now we're able to really routinely respond and adjust the HVAC or even the boilers, because we have to have the boilers up because we don't have them working. We can't serve food. So we have a list, but we do have now enough money where we can respond immediately, like that morning. But what's important is that we do the big critical projects like Lincoln Bassett and Edgewood, as well as have these contracts so we can do these other items that come up on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so tomorrow, tomorrow morning, are there kids going to school into cold schools where it's below 65 degrees? Where they know when they go in, it's gonna be cold, so they have to wear a coat in school?
Not to my knowledge. I will check with our maintenance manager, but typically we send out our HVAC person first thing in the morning. We either get calls or he routinely checks, but we'll verify that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Alder, if you have any more questions, you can ask later. Any questions from anyone else? Alder Redenti?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Superintendent, Mr. Carter. Are there plans to run any cost-saving initiatives as it pertains to utilities? And the reason I ask is, being at Fairhaven, we have a lot, and I brought this up in the last hearing about a lot of the broken sinks and toilets. We have what we call in the building ghost toilets that just run all day. Sometimes we've had them run for a week or more. Same thing with sinks. The sinks have those, the buttons that you press, they stay on for a second. A lot of times they get depressed too hard and they get stuck and they run for a long period of time. And I've also noticed a lot of broken lights that have switched to turn them off. So just wondering if there's any plans to go building by building to do some kind of a cost-saving initiative.
Yes, there is. A lot of those appurtenances in the bathrooms are 20+ years old and they're beyond useful life. One good thing is I brought a contract a couple months ago about Artist Energy that's monitoring our energy costs. Secondly, we'll put together a plan to look at not only HVAC, but towels, flooring, stairwell treads, bathroom doors, bathroom sinks, etc. And that will be part of the 5.5 million, but we do have a plan now. It's just not as robust. And what will help us, in addition to having the dollars, is having the additional people. 4 people do a great job, but we only have 3 carpenters, 2 plumbers, and we need 2 to 3 times that much so we can stay ahead of the curve as opposed to running behind. We are going out inspecting each school. We can go to the work order and list everything in a school, and that's going to be real helpful with the savings. Also, what we recently have been able to do, UI gave us grant money to do lighting improvements at Metro, Troop, and I think Clinton. And they have decided to let us finish 2 minor projects so that we can put in for 4 more projects, which will probably be at Hillhouse, Cross, and Fairhaven, and another school to be named, so that we could do those LED lights, energy efficiencies, and savings. So we're really excited about it, and I'm really excited that UI decided to continue to work with us on these grants.
Thank you. Could you also just?
Excuse me, sir.
Sorry.
I just want to recognize Alderman Murphy. Welcome. I'm sorry, but
No, my bad. Could you also just talk a little more in detail about the vacant positions? Like how many you're looking to hire and what the timeline would be where you could have all those positions filled?
Right now, thankfully, we will be able to hire the vacant custodial floor positions. We're gonna hire 12, and our goal is to have them all in by the end of the year. Then after that, after they're on the job 90 days, they can bid for assistant building engineer, manager, and then we have to backfill those positions. On the positions that we made the presentation about a month ago, about those trade positions, we have not received the funding yet to add those positions. And we're gonna work with 844-287-3144, and we're gonna sit down and see how we can get those in. But really, we need the money, has to be approved by the Board of Auditors and the mayor and everybody else, so that we can move forward with, because right now we're working on an RFP to go out for state bonding, and that's great, but once all that work is done, you still gotta have bodies there every day to still, people gonna break bathroom doors, sinks gonna break regardless of whether or not it's vandalism, and broken windows, so we still need those carpenters and plumbers and towers in to do that work.
Thank you.
And if I may add, I just want to share that those positions, the custodial floater, was actually posted today. I mean, it went through the whole process, but those are posted.
And those are local 287 positions?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, Alderman. Any questions from any other colleagues? I just have a couple of questions. Has there been any improvement in the ordering of supplies for the schools? Has anything changed? Is it still week by week or month by month, as we discussed at the last meeting?
Well, at the start of the budget year, we had some timing issues. Now, fortunately, we have money. And we also have put together a large contract for green products. What I'm looking down the road is, I guess 10 years ago, we had a warehouse at Chapel where we could store 4 to 5 months of paper product supplies. Now we're going to do it for a month. We need to have a central warehouse to store the paper products. And also, we have been good enough to start receiving donations of supplies, but we have to bring that to the Board of Ed and also the Board of Auditors, because we want to take these supplies to help with our programs in the schools. We have to have storage, and we just don't have that storage. So I don't like the piecemeal, but if we get more space, rather than ordering 100,000, then 150,000 have to come in, we just order 300,000, have 6 months of supplies on hand without having to go back and forth.
So we are looking for space at this time?
I am,
But we haven't identified it.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about work orders. Have they improved? Has the process improved as far as work orders? I can barely see this one here. It says emergencies, this is July 1, October 18, 2024. It says emergencies 1. Can you explain that?
So I think that's the piece that we want to clarify, because I'm aware that you have received 2 different sets of data sources. Mm-hmm. So the one that you have with that cover page that was created with the categories, my understanding is that when it goes in, it gets assessed to know exactly does it have the right category that it should go under? So the cover page that you have is the result of that analysis, not the original entry that went into the system.
So in other words, once it comes in, it's placed in a category.
Right.
It's like an emergency.
So it might go into an emergency, right? And again, like everything is an emergency, maybe to the person that's putting it in. It'll get assessed to determine, does that actually fall into the emergency bucket? Or does that fall into any of those other categories that you see in the front page?
One thing I'd like to mention, about 4 weeks ago, facilities, we sat down with the president and vice president of the New Haven Federation of Teachers, and we promised to do that every month, and we're meeting, I think, next week, the week after. So they bring things to us, and we share information, so we'll be able to reconcile. Because really, they're in the field, so everything is an emergency when you look at it, because they're out there in the school. So we're gonna meet with them next week and sort of catch up on it.
Has the new system where they enter it into the computer, where the principal can actually see the progress of a work order, is that working out?
Yes, we have quite a few principals that are very good at entering work orders, in particular Matt Brown, and we meet with him every Thursday and go through the work orders, can be done this week or today, what can be done a month from now. Like, for example, the stair trade wells, we're gonna have to go on state contract. It'll probably be close to 100,000 more. We have to use the state bidding process, bring it to our board, F&O and then our board, and have the trade wells done at Cross as well as a couple other schools, or they should have been replaced 2 or 3 years ago.
Could you give us an update on the Wilbercross as far as I guess the music room was closed, the library was closed, and I believe the kitchen was closed. Can you give us an update on that, please?
Okay. The library, we've done a lot of mold mitigation and towels. Right now, we want to move to complete the library, but right now they're doing testing, and we need a 1 to 2 week period. So Principal Brown has talked about maybe having it after testing is done around Thanksgiving or Christmas. I can do it now, but we can't close it down because of the use. On the what was the
kitchen area?
Kitchen. The kitchen area was a great learning experience for us because the kitchen was an adopted classroom, and then they built it as they went. It's as built, but there's no plans anywhere in our records or even over here at City Hall. So we went through several iterations. We got agreement from food service that they use the main kitchen, but we was able to go in and replace a big part of the grease trap. We have a professional company clean it because we can't do it, the chef shouldn't do it, and so far they're up and running. And I'll ask Matt Brown about that tomorrow, but for the most part, what we want to do eventually, so we can make it a complete kitchen, is run the grease trap and have it outside like they do in some restaurants. So we don't have those, but it was as-built, and we don't know the plumber or whoever attached what pipe to where, but we went through 4 or 5 different things about what was creating the smell.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from colleagues?
Just one more,
Yeah.
if I may, Mr. Chair.
Alderman.
Thank you. Thank you for all the information. Could you talk about the purpose? What is 21 Worcester Place, and what does that facility do, and what have been the repairs to that facility?
So I am happy to speak about that because I learned about that particular project when I arrived. That was a project prior to my arrival that had been approved as a place to try to create more spaces to bring people together. And there were extra dollars that were utilized to work on that project. In my arrival, when I came in the summer of 2023, that project was already like underway. Full transparency, I wanted to put a hold on it, but the assessment would have been that if I would have put a hold on it, I would have lost money that had been already invested. So that project continued.
Is it accurate? So it's for administrator offices, is that right?
It was, my understanding is that it was built to accommodate the academic team.
And is it accurate that there was like over $1 million spent on the renovation of that facility?
I don't have the actual dollar amount, but again, it was one concern that I raised upon my arrival. Again, it had nothing to do with that particular position. And again, all of it in an effort as well, that for many, many years, we're still trying to figure out a way that we can basically move out of Gateway, right? Because that's also eventually a path that we want to go under. So I believe part of it was how can we begin that process of eventually being able to move out of Gateway, but we are nowhere close because the reality is that there are no spaces where we all fit at this point.
What's been reported is it was a very high-end renovation, new floors, fancy finishing, new chairs ordered as of like a couple of weeks ago for new chairs and desks. And so I'm just asking to make sure we get the right information.
So I want to make a correction there because I know that I'm learning a lot that we're very good with rumors. So I want to clarify the rumors. The project went along because again, to stop it would have been loss of funds. When it came time to say about can we order, right, new furniture, that was when I immediately said absolutely not. We would have to get whatever we have and whatever we currently use to transfer into that space. So I don't know where.
No, that's why I'm
I
asking.
don't recall signing anything off. And I know that my directors were that we were not going to be investing any more dollars than what was already allocated for the project.
You can understand the question. We have all these
No, I understand your
facility
position.
crises, and then we have
I
what seems like a
completely-
very fancy office for administrators, and the contrast is concerning. So I just wanted to get the information out so that we have.
And understood, and please know that there's never been any intention, if anybody are wondering, is the superintendent gonna sit there? There was never no intention for the superintendent to move into that space. So I just wanna make sure that I'm clarifying the record.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I mean, is there any other questions from any colleagues? I just have one question. From the last time we met to now, have you seen any progress? Are you moving in the right direction to correct some of these problems? I'm sure you are. I know it's a tough load. It's very tough. But with extra dollars coming in, and I hope there's a lot more coming in for you guys. But you feel you're on the right track and you're moving in the right direction?
Yes, thanks to Dr. LeBron and the Board of Education, or the Board of All Approving Contracts. It provides great assistance and support. But again, I would like to say that we need more trades personnel, and we need the custodial people in so we can stay on top of these. I know 10 years ago, one of the previous superintendents would call a meeting every Friday with facilities, security, and the trades, and I'm gonna go back to that because we need that constant communication so there's not always breakdown, because I go to some places, my best source for repairs is a security person. And he and she is telling me this or that. I get photos and pictures and, descriptions of doors and things that need to be done. So we need to go back to that concept of team, but with additional dollars, it's a big help. But I can't emphasize the fact that we need to add more tradespeople, custodial people.
That's great to hear, because I think I remember that, when we used to meet, and because you hear from some of the custodians that now the communication is something's breaking down. The communication is breaking down, and it's hard. But when you meet with ABM custodial, you sit down and talk around the table. I think the rapport gets better and the communication gets better. And without that, it's just, like Dr. Grant said, there's a lot of rumors that just fly around, But if there are no other questions from colleagues, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Guess I'm gonna stay put because we're gonna go into part 2.
Yeah, part 2.
Okay.
Security,
So I'm going to be asking Dr. White and Chief Reddish to join me. Thank you, Mr. Carter.
please state your name and address.
My name is Thaddeus Reddish, I'm Director of School Security on Use 54 Meadow Street. That's my address.
Hello, Dr. Paul White, 170 Osborne Avenue.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, you're on.
Okay, so we did submit a presentation to you, as we do with all new topics. I'm not sure if you were able to get it.
I don't think we received it, to be
No.
honest with you, but it will be up on the screen.
Is it up?
Yeah, we haven't received that handout.
Give us a second. I think it's up here.
It's not.
Anyways, I'll move to respect your time. It's a very short presentation. Basically, had asked for us to come and do a presentation around school security. So as you've heard, we do have Chief Reddish with us, who is our Director of Security, Dr. White, who is one of our Assistant Superintendents. Right now, given the vacancies that we have, Dr. White has stepped in to support me with the oversight of the security department. So thank you, Dr. White. Just wanted to begin by sharing what it is in terms of our objective of the NHPS Security Department, and that is that the department exists to provide a safe and secure learning environment to all of our students, our staff, and authorized visitors in order to implement our path to excellence. And as you might recall, our path to excellence basically into our district strategic operating plan. And in terms of what it is that the department does, the security department engages as members of the school community. They patrol throughout the building and its perimeter. They monitor entryways for intruders. They perform back checks and metal detection schools during arrival and also during athletic events. They support staff with the escalation of behaviors. They secure various NHP facilities. They also provide learning around critical incidents and also the program that's called effectively. And last but not least, they also provide after-hour coverage of select conflicted events. And those events are subject to the tiering system within the permits office. In terms of protocols, there are protocols that are developed for the safety of our students, our staff, the authorized visitors, and the security of property. But those specific protocols are confidential. We do not post those because, again, if we go posting our protocols in our game plan, then we become vulnerable, right, for anybody that wants to pose a threat to our schools. Those protocols are developed in conjunction with the New Haven Police Department. I'm very grateful by the strong collaboration that we have with the NHPD. And right now, we do have 6 NHPD school resource officers that was a command staff that support our schools along with the school security officers. In terms of staffing, I also wanted to give you an overview. Please know that the district has experienced a significant reduction in staffing over the years. So to give you some data points, back in 2010, the district had a total of 100 security officers. Right now, we have 56 in, with the last, with the budget that was approved last year for this fiscal year, we were able to add 4 more additional positions. So we've been able to bring that from 56 to 60. To support with the recruitment, the job description and the requirements were recently revised to attract more applicants. Of course, our way to make that more attractive is that we suggested adding the Connecticut Guard certification because we believe that would allow for people to be able to meet requirements along with all the other requirements that are in the job description. Right now, we have to submit any job description changes to the city for the union, right, for the corresponding union to be able to review and be able to approve. We've been waiting. I sure hope that they don't, that the union doesn't feel that they can do that. But again, I'm still waiting, hoping. And now we'll have to go back to the drawing board, and then we want to be able to post as soon as possible because it is, we are short. So the fact that we had 2 more positions in there in the budget, I need to be able to post so that we can get security officers into the school. The other issue that I want to speak about, you heard me say in terms of the job they do, that they provide the after-school coverage for the select permitted events. And one of the realities, and I had a conversation with Alder Miller this morning, is that the overtime costs continues to be a going issue for us. To give you an example, right now, for many years, the district has operated with this process. That, for example, if it's somebody's making a request, but that request, for example, if something like related to, you know, the students, teachers, parents being the benefactors of those events, often they qualify to be part of tier 1. What happens with the tier 1 is that there's no cost, right? So over the years, as a district, the district has covered that cost. Meaning, when security comes to the day, if there's a program going on for years, the district covered that cost, right? The cost didn't go to anybody. We took the cost. Last year, we spent $2 million total in overtime. So when we have been looking at the implementation, one of the things that I've said is that we've got to put things in place. We can no longer afford the $2 million cost. You know, so what we have done internally is that every time we are writing that is going out, and if we know the grant is going to go into programming, that is then going to go and support things at the school, when we write that grant and we submit the budget proposal, we're basically building in, right, the cost that we would incur from those after hours. So that's something that we're doing internally with all the grants that we're in this year. And we're asking any other entity that is looking for grants, right, and wants to partner, we're encouraging them to do the same, so that when grants come in, that it also covers that cost, that we can no longer cover. So right now, we are still working under this tier system that again allows some entities to be free of charge, full transparency. This is something right now that we are to ask the team to look at the analysis, how much money have we spent incorporating this cost, to see, would it make a difference if we made a change to the tiers that are laid out, so that there's a small cost right now to help, with this system right now. Well, nothing yet, exploration, because I want to make sure that we have that. We might think that would help, and then when we do the analysis, we can learn that it really doesn't help, it's just a wash. So we'll go through a revision if we know it's not going to result, in anything. So that is something that we are exploring. So sorry that was long-winded, but I wanted to give you, so in terms of security, next steps, you already heard that particular step that we are looking at, as well as continuing to look at cost controls for the overtime. The things that we are doing in-house, and of course, continuing with professional development. Because again, things change, right? We know more and more, we hear about significant school threats. We have to make sure that we are up to date in terms of how it is that we are, building capacity for all of us to be at the ready for when those things. Okay. So with that, I'm going to open it up for any questions. If I have my experts with me.
Any questions, Monica?
Thank you for the information. Can you describe the distribution of security officers at the comprehensive high schools, in some of the smaller high schools?
So I can start and I'll let them fill in, but right now, given the size of a school, that's one of the pieces that we look at first. We also look at data around like activity related to a particular school. And I think that's what we start from to determine. Of course, a place like across would have sufficient eyes when you compare to the building. Hill House, for example, also needs prioritized based on size. Unfortunately, when you look at our K, like a lot of those start with like one, right? And then it's like a puzzle, like I literally have been on Hawaii, and we have to say, okay, we only have 56, where do we put them? And then it's like, okay, we may have like, how many more do we left over? We get the chart, and we're like, okay, let's not prioritize. Where do we have a heightened need right now? And that's where we place. Not a place that we want to be in. That's why we're being intentional with the budget moving forward. We can, get there. I don't know if Dr. White or Chief Hardish.
One of the things that's going to be really important too is when we look at who's available. Obviously, the times we have people who are called out, absent, so then we have to do some shuffling around. Of course, it is that the officers become home, and so we don't post fair to help cover unless we have to. Large bill or third largest schools, but that's focused on schools who support plus do that whole units do where it's necessary and emergency.
Just to talk specifically about Cross and Hill House, like how many officers do you have?
I'd rather not say. I can speak with children in the district. I'd rather not say exactly how many people we have at our school.
I'm just looking at the number of 56 and thinking that are,
No,
you have a building. At least one building. And are all 56 filled, or do you have any vacancies among them?
So the 56 are filled, the 4,
Are they?
and the 4 are the new that I'm waiting for that job description. We have those. And those additional.
Yes. Yes, you may.
Which is about what happens when there's nobody available for school. How is that handled?
without giving up our full things, it's covered. I don't officially say here, but it's covered.
There's a lot of maneuvering that has to be created to make sure that there is at least, particularly in our K-8s, there's at least one. At our high school level, there's always multiple, because of the size of the schools. But again, it's particularly,
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. White. Chief Reddish. First, Chief Reddish, I'd like to thank you for assigning Carlos Colon to the school. One of the best people I've ever worked with. It's tough. You have so many kids, the only security person in a neighborhood like Fairhaven. But when you say it's covered, I this year have had to change my hours to 7:30 because Officer Colon doesn't start until 8 a.m. Teachers are already in the building by 7 p.m. So we have homeless folks outside our building. We have drug addicted folks outside our building. There were numerous emails for the past couple of years that were going back and forth about teachers not feeling comfortable. Officer Colon starts at 8 a.m. Some mornings he's pulled for metal detectors. I know how to receive the call. How do we handle it so that the school staff is not the one that's assuming the roles of the security that is being pulled to other buildings? It is part of the district. Routinely, Carlos will get never understand how great without someone. Again, it ends up being someone like me who puts himself out there.
So with the number of officers that we have to do larger schools, high schools. So we get that done. 8 starts at 8. There's an 8 o'clock start. We actually come in at 7 o'clock for an hour, do metal detection at Cross Hill. These are the high schools where we're doing metal detection. So right now, all we need to do metal detection to get the 8 Cross. If we have enough people, then the children will start class at Hill House or Cross at their start time of 7 o'clock.
But why not pull from a smaller school like
That's what we've done. They're all assigned to a high school in the morning.
But do you think there should ever be a time where it's like in a neighborhood where it sits should ever be with that?
I would say that Fairhaven is one of the schools that we have because the size requires more. If we don't think of the number of kids that are there, the reality is that we're trying to do the best with the police that we have in navigating that, right? Eventually, that school should have more than one because again, the size, basically even larger than like a career high school, right? All I can tell you is I'm not going to be able to create a body out of thin air. All I can do is continue to add personnel in every cycle and continue to hire and continue to get people in. Because we have to get that, as you heard, from 100 back to 2010. I would argue the world in 2010 was very different than today, right? And to have less than that, so I'm going to have to somehow rebuild to get closer to that number.
Mr. Chair, if I could just.
Yes,
And
you
when
may.
I say that, it's not the kids, it's about the external factors
No,
that we deal with on a
we
daily basis.
know.
And especially if the
We
police certificate gets rid of something.
Comment on this. I can only speak from having that police officer. I officers come in, and two of the large cities. Westville, Fort Walton, and Hall. So to speak on what you're talking about, and networking with the department, it's essential that patrol officers who are there deal with what you're talking about. A security officer can't deal with anything what you're talking about. Before we ask a homeless person to please walk away. We can't deal with anybody who's drug addicted. We don't have the capability to deal with any of that. When I was a district manager, the case is brought up, and it's always been very district that we're talking about right now. When we were talking conflict, that's what we're talking about. Control. Making someone their shift change. So 7 o'clock, the shift is changed. First you wake up at 8 o'clock. So now your 8 o'clock person is sitting there. Right? It was, I forgot what you called it, but you'd sit at these vital areas. And it would make shift changed out. On the security aspect of it, I can't control anything that we're talking about. I can control it from the inside, at the door. Move them along. If they move along, like it's possible to have security to ask them.
So security can't move people off school property?
We can ask them to, yes, and ultimately we'd have to call for.
Because we realize that with the shortage of police officers, we become a call for service departments. We don't have the ability, especially during shift change, to have an officer present.
And that's where we stand in the same position. The personnel to do that aspect of it. We have to utilize them, what we have, our resources that we have right now, to get high school children safely to the metal detector. As soon as that's done, they report to their schools. If we don't do that, I can only use Cross as an example. Cross is the largest. We get everyone in on time. If we don't utilize the numbers that we're using, the kids, when the winter comes and it's raining and snowing, they will be outside waiting to try to get in, which is going to cause a whole nother problem once they get in. Because they're going to be irritated because why am I standing out already cold? So getting everybody in as fast as soon as they're done, get over, and don't call for that type of service. So before we get more on this, I can only do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from colleagues?
Thank you for the presentation. So when you, in the presentation where it said that there was a change from 100 as opposed to currently 56, could you talk a little bit more about what that time period was, that like 2010s when there were staffed, and sort of maybe what you have seen is the sort of pattern that has led to those numbers?
So not SROs, but the school, security officers, because we are from the police department.
Right.
So, 2010, similar to the issues of budget mitigation. So, cuts. So it started with little cuts here, 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 here. 100 is what the district has landed on 56.
Yes, you may.
And then also for the 4 new positions, do you have a rough idea of when that job description could be approved, or in terms of the timeline of how long getting the job description approved and posted to actual hiring, what roughly that might look?
So the answers from the union should be coming in now, because usually the process is submitted and they have up to 2 weeks to give a response. So that is to be coming hopefully. It's going to be 2 weeks, which is probably this week. Let's say that they agree, then immediately what will happen is we just put it up the posting. And we have to give it a window of time for that posting to be up, and then immediately the interviews will happen. Now, the hiccup is going to be if, for example, the union says, no, we're not in agreement, it's going to take a little longer, because we'll have to come to the table again to try to negotiate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just have a few questions. I know years ago, you know, security officer was really an integral part of the building. You know, they were on SPMT, they took part in any strategic planning, because they are part of the building, and they can be a very integral part of building relationships with parents and kids. Uh, Is that happening now, or do the officers or security guards get involved in the schools, in the planning and, you know?
Security officers are essential to each of the schools. We try to keep the same officers, so because they build a relationship with the kids. They are one of the first lines of helping investigators because they will know, they will look and say, Sarah's not looking too good. Let's have some talk. That's the kind of thing that happens from building a relationship. So we try to keep that on. Our principals regularly talk with them, talk with us to know, hey, these are the things happening for the day. It is part of the way we plan. It's an expectation on the leadership part to engage with.
Back to all our these questions as far as pulling. So in other words, theoretically, you could have a security officer be in different buildings in a day, bouncing around at different times. I mean, to cover when they come in, maybe lunchtime, and maybe dismissal, going to different.
I'll let you explain, but we try to leave it at least two, because right now, because we have that dilemma with the high schools and getting the kids in, but again, we're trying to work on student engagement.
Yeah.
And it's all setting the tone for the day, so that they're in a good space coming in. This is all part of that initiative also. So the priority has been, how could we expedite the metal detection process? So that's what led to create, that the time for them to report, and then right after they put at those schools. But then immediately they're going to the school, that they're assigned for the day.
Yeah. There, are there any other things that are going to, you mentioned, patrols that they drive around the city, is that what they do for what purpose is that?
So just as a law enforcement, you know, back years ago, we had people walking a beat, and then cars came about, and they realized in law enforcement you could cover more area. Instead of one person walking several blocks, you take a squad car and you ride around, cover more area. And you get to more points in the city. Our car. So we have officers inside the patrol our patrol cars that respond. So it calls up and says, we can have a security officer there who's not calling for help. Now we have a mobile unit that will respond immediately to get to them until the rest of them come through the regard to come assist. So they provide that assistance. So if the officer's out sick, then we know that that's what the schools are going to be covered that day. They will come in, they'll walk around, let the principal see that they've been there, and that's everything okay, and move on to the next school. They are a rapid response. So they will go from place to place as needed throughout the day. And how many officers? I can't really say.
Those officers not assigned at schools.
What I have
They could be
assigned,
itinerants.
Yeah.
what I have assigned them, and like say for Fairhaven, it had no one. I've been sending them there, have them stay there all day.
I know for years that the overtime cost is big. But, you know, when you have, three high schools, athletic events, basketball games, football, volleyball, they're at all the events, it's almost very difficult to control those costs anywhere. And even when, you know, community people want to use a building, sometimes it's difficult to charge them to use a school. That's something that's going to be difficult to, there might be a system, but that's going to be kind of difficult to control that one there. My last question is, as far as a security officer, what actually are the responsibilities? I know you mentioned it quickly, but, you know, I envision when I was principal of the school, you know, things that he got involved in is like, greeting the kids in the morning up front, spending some time in the cafeteria, um, and doing their rounds about the building. And again, there are times in some buildings where the security guard says, I have possible all those things. So has the role of the security person changed over the years? Somewhat?
Exactly what we just discussed. But we also write reports.
Mhm.
We also document different things that are taking place in the building. As far as the facility issues, we on things we see that are broken. We try to bring it to the attention of facility, things are going on, if the alarm isn't functioning correctly, and we're hand in hand with that. So we're more involved. We're more involved with the daily activities around the building, inside the building. We work with the police department and certain. So we're very, very involved with that, more so. Not just school security. We're doing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman?
Thank you for your presentation. I just want to speak to something that we haven't spoken tonight, which is obviously some kind of computer school system. I have another problem with it. I hope that we can communicate.
No, it's just knocking on
No,
wood.
I'm getting some others that I heard, so just to share that I'm referring to, I'm going to ask about the situation of a active shooter or a gun nightmare scenario. I'm thankful that we have not had this problem in the week, and I sure hope that we never have. Obviously, that's the nightmare scenario that so many people think about. I just wanted to ask two questions without obviously revealing sensitive critical information. To understand a little bit more about the protocols of planning with the department. First question. My second question involves understanding about communication. To the security officer. So communicating, and we talked at some point about taking the discussion of taking phones away, possibly from students, larger discussion. But sort of while you're here, I want to hear a little about what communication operations are available, walkie-talkies, phones, and how the security officer could alert.
So to answer your question, we are a state, as far as when it comes to, as far as within the state, we're different. School security, and as Alder question, we are different. I wish I really could give you a lot more detail, and you guys would sit here and be like, oh wow, that's very okay. So what we have as far as communications, we have our radios. We have radios that we communicate with each other. We have a command center and a place within the building. We have a major command center where we have the majority of our schools. If we're going to a lockdown, we have the capability of being in that strategic area to lock our schools, communicate with one another, talk to each other. We also have line police department. We talk on a daily basis. We hear the New Haven dispatcher talk to us on our radio, telling us that we have a 911 call coming in, confirm with us that we have here. We talk back and forth. So we have that capability. We have a working relationship with the police department since I've come over because I train the majority of the police officers every day. So we still have that relationship. Work very, very, very well together. So as far as active shooter training, that's ongoing training. I'm proud that I brought active shooter to the Columbine, helping the members in Haven. So we and current SWAT on this current active shooter that we're moving away from, I brought then, and then we upgraded our training, which very used last year, and trust me, it works. It works. So we are prepared to do the best we can. Every situation is dynamic. What are we training for? There's somebody out there who is trying to they're not capable of doing what they do.
Just as another perspective, you would know over the last 2 years, we've had two major lockdowns in buildings across one at co-op, where there's nothing in the building. So we had full use of New Haven Police supporting us. Then after that, the school department, the security, leadership, we all do an after action where we tap in with the emergency management director for the city. So we continue that. We have monthly meetings with the security task force for the city, so that we all keep communication, know what we need to do, so that we are able to respond.
Do you still do the practice lab now, like go to schools? Yeah, I guess. Yes.
Question. There's a lot of overlap between facilities issues and security issues. You know, for example, I brought up earlier the issue of gates around. Also, when you the lights go off, whether there's shades or really things that often not the way that we would like them to be. What role does the security staff play in identifying and resolving those issues like that, where the light will go off somewhere in the lists, or rooms that don't have shades, which I think is a protocol for an active shooter. Is that identified as emergency, or how is that tiered in the system to get it resolved? Their ability to implement shooter.
Well, we do our active shooter training thing, and we discuss it with the principals, we discuss it with the staff, and the training we've been doing, we go back and start seeing what they implement a lot of what we're talking about. So we'll start putting the shades up. It's not really a district right now, when the district goes up to hold them the shades, but individuals are doing what we're talking about as far as the shades. We just draw to our attention, and we try to immediately talk to our electricians and ask them some things, and just go and just depends on if I'm told or not. I don't keep up with the situation.
As you see from work orders, probably situations where those are know that going back to presentation facilities, now is prioritizing, right, with the funds, so they safety first. What are the ranking used to prioritize, we kind of cross off the list if we start with health and safety first.
Just as a follow-up, so issues that relate to implement active protocols or just implement basic security plans, are those identified as health and safety?
Those fall under that. Those would definitely fall under that. The dilemma right now is that it's a long run. We're going to try to get to as many as we can. The average that we have now.
Another question about security specifically, my last question, I think,
That's fine.
is I think it's been really helpful in other areas when you've narrated what it looks like to be fully staffed. I'm wondering what standards exist nationally. I know they exist for other disciplines, social workers, other things, what standards exist, and how far off the standards for staffing in schools.
Don't have, but we actually have done an analysis on what the gap would be at the number of offices in all buildings would be. That they're basically the schools.
And by the four, because you've seen it where we have, because you mentioned, we have our classroom teachers all the other levels of staffing. Security is part of that. And again, all of them, we haven't closed the gap in any of them.
And then in addition, and along with that gap, it's also looking at the culture and capacity of our buildings, so that we know neighborhood based, different parts of the city, just because elements outside. We all know many times some of our buildings have been put into partial lockdowns because of community activity, nothing related to our building, but again, those are the reality, which also speaks to communication we have with MHP.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Are there any questions? Alderman Flores?
Thank you, Chair Punzo. Just a follow-up question on officer preparedness. In terms of like trainings that security officers might get, like are all of them CPR trained, rescue breathing, even things like Narcan administration, like just in terms of general preparedness, if there were to be some sort of like health emergency where they call 911, but someone there has some sort of knowledge.
No, we're officer in training, what you're asking about.
Mhm.
We are being trained to stop the bleed.
Okay.
We're dealing with more of the active shooter thing. We're not dealing with Narcan, we're not dealing with basic CPR, anything like that. We're moving towards that. And we have is domestic violence. They get sexual assault, they get criminal law, they get things that's pertinent to dealing with children and within the school system, in the police department, maybe having to come. I taught them about protecting crime scenes. And basically, they've gotten some of the same training that police officers get. We're dealing with,
Yeah. And so when you mean moving forward on to those things, does that mean that there is some like formal plan or that's just like early stages discussion?
no, there's plans, I have plans for teaching. We're moving toward phase 2 of our active shooter training, which is stop the bleeding. So they'll be getting training on stop the bleeding.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from colleagues? Are there any other questions from colleagues? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because the location, all the Carl had been for the command center. Yeah, so he has, if you want to ask the question, I can't answer. Ask him, maybe he can talk. But we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay, we have some public testimony. I'll call your name when you come up. Please give your name and address. Okay, first on the list is Andrew Porto. And you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Andrew Chip Porter, 157 Leader Hill Drive.
Name and address.
I'm Galusha, 12 Gilbert Ave, Hampton.
Yeah, thank you.
Basically, I'm here on behalf of local 287, Civilian Union, looking to bring it back in-house. I'm building manager at Dr. Mayo School right now. I try to take pride in my job. There's many individuals like myself continue to take pride on a daily basis. And I would hope that you guys consider bringing it back in-house. I believe we'd be assets to the community. 29 years of service. I feel the system's broke right now. I think the communication breakdown. It's been privatized for quite some time. Trying to get along with the private concerns right now. But for some reason, it's just breakdown. Years ago, we meet with the principals, for summer cleaning, come up with plans. Things would get done in a timely fashion. It was 4 supervisors at night. It was 50 schools at the time. There was 2 supervisors during the day that would periodically check in with principals to make sure things were going right. Schools were safe, work orders were getting done. The work order system now, based on privatization, they implemented a system where everything is going by computer. Sometimes they sit computers for months, years, if nothing's being done. So with that being said, we need more hands-on people that take pride in what they want to do. When you leave a guy coaching the league as well, I work across everything going on through the city, what's happening there. It's an unfortunate situation as well. What I'm here for, and would hope that you guys would just listen to any questions that you would have for myself, my president, we could answer.
Question, if I may. Could you give us an example of communication breakdown? Like, what is that? How does that impact your role?
Just like right now, it's I don't have answers. When I have to go to my principal with answers on work orders, and she comes to me every day and says, Chip, what's going on with the water, the cooling system in the back, bacteria is still in there, are people coming out, clear waters come out, but they can't rectify the problem. So now my job as a building manager is to communicate with her. I have children that I'm responsible for. I'm in a building, that's my job. I take my job seriously. So everybody has children. That's why we're here. We're here for the children. I think sometimes the politics and everything gets twisted. And we need to believe that, there should be some type of solution. But I don't have the answer to that question when clear water comes out and they can't fix the bacteria problem. And they can't run the cooling system at 85 degrees in a building that the windows don't open. And all I see is, the kids going down the hallway, our breaks. Like, what could I say? So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Next on the list is Ashley Stockton. Ashley. Hi, good evening.
Ashley Stockton, at BoA Street. I'm a teacher at Truman. I'm a parent at Wilbur Cross, New Haven resident, taxpayer. And after the last workshop on this topic, I learned about 21%, which Superintendent has gone about. It's a building that's referenced at the department. And I just wanted to add a couple things and then share some thoughts. This project, from its proposal to completion, is presented in the school building infrastructure and project management reports that are posted on hps.net. The total amount of posted contracts and POs for this project is $1,320,399.69. After I heard this, I sent an email to city officials requesting to see this building. I wanted to see it. So I walked over to it and just looked at it from the outside, and it's lovely. And one of the many things that I've noticed is the large glass or the sheets. Great. So I work at Truman School, a building that is not for department heads, but it's for children and teachers and staff. We don't have working blinds. I know that a work order has currently been logged. I also know that the work orders go back 6 years for the non-compliance at Truman School. Our school has 12 windows. that do not have screens. So if you open them, dirt from the metal scrapyard across the street comes in. It's not really easy to open them for that reason, and the shades don't work. I just want to talk really briefly about this means with kids and teachers. Teachers at the school literally move their 26 children around all day long to try to keep them out of their eyes. They can't use their smart boards at certain days. It's so bad that we, and so like the fourth grade teachers have to take their kids out of their desks, move them to the floor, move them to different areas. This is learning, it's disruptive to welcoming environment. It's really, it's an unnecessary challenge. They've been asking for kids for 6 years, right? And as a taxpayer and parent in this, it's distressing that a choice for purchase orders and contracts for over $1.3 billion to put shades in a building where children do not go, where department heads go. Processed, was approved, was posted, and that our money is being spent. And so I just want to go on and say, don't feel confident about our notes for spending. Feel confident about prioritization, kids and teachers, and where that budget is going. I heard the superintendent say she was not happy about 21 Worcester Place, but as a taxpayer, as a parent at Wilbur Cross, as a teacher, I'm disgusted. And I looked at lots of floors, door, beautiful new light fixtures, floor to ceiling shades, and Worcester Square, who doesn't want to work there? It's beautiful, you know. So I just don't know how you all work together with the board of alders and the board head and how it all comes together. But for $1.3+ million to approved and spent, it was just in the past year. All of this stuff is concerning, and I just want to put that on the record. And thank you for having these workshops. I think that's on and on, but I won't keep going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on these items? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on these items? Is there anyone from the, please come forward.
Hello,
State your name and address.
Ms. Jennifer Graves. I live at 22 George Street, North Haven. I am Vice President of New Haven Teachers. I'm a teacher in New Haven for 15 years. I just wanted to make a quick note of solidarity for my union siblings in Local 287. Chip, who spoke earlier, was the custodian at my school at Dr. Mayo. The relationships that he has built with staff and students is just so remarkable. And our custodians are part of our school community. They take a lot of pride in their work. They come in, they talk to kids, read books. They're not just people who sweep our floors and take out our trash. Mark was my student, my own custodian over at Jefferson School. Sometimes my son Tyler would say the best part of his day was joking around with Mark and I. So they are not people who just show up to work every day. I believe that Mark is part of the school spices team at Jefferson. They are trusted, responsible people who we do this work in partnership with. So I just wanted to go on the record and say that, and thank you so much for everything that you guys do.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on these items? Is there anyone else that would like to speak on these items? And for the third time, is there anyone else that would like to speak on these items? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public portion of this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Public portion of this meeting is closed. We have any discussion? Mr. Dente, Alderman Dente.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to echo the sentiments of Ms. Gray. I see those guys as all those people, but I also see a lot of those guys as my lifelong friends, guys that I grew up with in Fairhaven, that like me stay here to do the hard work for their communities. I've said this before, I grew up in New Haven where we had strong jobs for kids who didn't want to go to college. School custodians were one of those. I know a lot of those guys retired, worked as school custodians, were able to purchase homes and put their kids through college. And I think that as we've shown, not only in this hearing, but over the last few years, the evidence has just been in front of us that privatization does not work. And we need to do whatever it takes to make a really serious move to bring our custodial staff back in-house and support local 287.
Thank you, Alderman Dente. I also agree with that, the statements from Alderman Dente. They are hard work, and they are an integral part of the building. They become a part of the building, an integral part. So, thank you. At this time, is there any other discussion? No?
Rapunzel. I appreciate the list of work order items that we've received. And I just want to underscore that what all those lists represent are conditions in schools that are really unacceptable and really have not improved in any meaningful way over the past few months, or since our last hearing. And all of the issues that I'm following in my own district have not improved at all in the last, I'd say, 6 months. There have been some small improvements over the past 3 years, but overall, it hasn't been significant. And one of the trends that I see is things get addressed, but they get addressed in ways that are really, really poor, low quality. Stairwells that get repaired with like one screw that then pops off. We had a carpet in the auditorium that was replaced that looks terrible, is the wrong, like is a light color, is gonna show dirt. So things are done, but they're not done in a way that really is durable or really makes sense. So I just think it's important for us all to understand that there are active health and safety issues that are completely unacceptable. And I understand this is a smaller issue, but we have to figure it out. We can't just continue to let it be week after week, month after month, and just sort of throw our hands up and say, well, we don't have the money. Like, we got to find the money and get these things fixed on a more regular basis. And they just can't linger for all this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Lordy, Lordy. You want me to end session?
Hold on.